Good morning, everybody in Periscope land, in Twitter land, LinkedIn, Google+, Facebook. Thank you for this opportunity to connect with you all on this gray, kind of wet day here where I am right now. But you know what? It's all good. And you know, it's interesting that in life sometimes we can't control how the day starts, but we can control how it finishes. And in alignment to that, I want to talk a little bit with you all about the idea of storms that we face in life. Storms come in the definition of difficulties, challenges, things that impact our growth, impact our psyche, impact our moods, that contributes to us reacting then responding. And the storms that we face in life, good morning, welcome. And the storms that we face in life, ladies and gentlemen, they come in different forms for different people for different reasons. But just looking at how the world is set up, if we were to generally look at storms that are like tsunamis or hurricanes or significant snowfalls in the world, etc., these are things that we can't control. We cannot control these storms, but we can control how we respond to those storms in protecting ourselves, helping ourselves be better suited to cope with it in order for us to not just survive, but to develop a reference point to know that anything that we are dealing with that's challenging, we can actually cope with it. We have to just settle down and not allow our emotions to get the best of us. And when we slow it down and we choose to respond to life by looking at solutions, options, and opportunities to get better, then we find ourselves in a position where we can be at peace. And the storms of life are always going to come for everybody, including myself. And what I have learned is that over the years of dealing with storms in my short period of time being here on earth, is that every storm that I have dealt with, I've gone through the process of this kind of feeling of being upset, angry, sad, or whatever the case may be. And then I've said to myself, okay, I feel this way, now I'm going to become resourceful. And then when I become resourceful, I'm going to become resilient. And then when I become resilient, I'm going to take massive action to develop an action step to move forward in the eye of the storm. Because the only way I'm going to get through it is by facing it. And that's what we need to do with the storms of our life, is that we have to go through that process. We have to give ourselves permission. Good morning. Welcome everybody out there in Periscope land. Good morning. Thank you for joining in. And we have to be ready, willing, and able to face our storms, because our storms are actually unique for us to deal with and cope with. And truthfully, we all have the capabilities and the skill set and the opportunities to actually cope with it in an effective way if we choose to check our emotions at the door. Similarly to checking our egos at the door and our pride at the door, we want to do the same when it comes to facing our storms of life, our difficulties of life, our challenges of life. So this morning, what I want to do is challenge people out there to understand that you can actually cope with your difficulty. You can actually cope with your storm. It's a matter of how are we going through that process. Are we allowing ourselves to get upset and give ourselves permission to feel that it's something that hurts us, that bothers us, that makes us angry? But yet, are we going to be resourceful enough to create resiliency in ourselves, to take massive action, to do something about it? That is the question. And that is what separates the winners from the whiners, the victims from the victors. It is the capability of separating our emotion and our ability to say we're going to be responding with solutions. And our world today is a great example of testing everybody out there, including myself, to be more solution focused than reactive. The world wants people to be reactive so they can rely on drugs and alcohol. They can rely on doing things that make other people money and yet take away from your life. So you pay with your life while someone makes money off of you that you don't see. That is the trend, that is the epidemic, that is where we are heading. So it is time for us to kind of wake up a little bit and understand for ourselves, whatever difficulties we're facing, we can consult with people, we can ask people questions, we can seek out support. But ultimately, you are the decision maker on how you go about coping with your own individual storm, because you are the expert of you. Your friends, your parents, your family, your associates at work, they're not the experts of you. You go to bed with you every day. You see the reflection in the mirror every day. You know you very well. And ultimately, the buck stops with you. You have to make the commitment to say to yourself, am I going to take what someone's told me how they deal with storms and apply it to myself? Or am I going to listen to how people actually dealt with the storm, what solutions they came up with, and then what actions they took to change the situation, knowing that the reference point is a process. The reference point isn't the emotional component. It's the process that a person went through to actually get through the storm. And now I can develop that for myself, which is my own individual process, which is now saying, I'm going to customize my uniqueness of how I cope with the storms of life to meet my needs, not because it worked for someone else. We have to move from this world of thinking that whatever happened to someone else and how it worked for them applies to us, because that doesn't work. All that really does is create more challenges, difficulties, resentment, bitterness, because they want the results of what they're hearing from other people, and yet they're not realizing that you have to run your own race, stay in your own lane, and run at your own pace. You can't run and try to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with somebody else beside you, because it's not going to work, because they're unique just like you're unique. If they have a unique fingerprint and you have a unique fingerprint, how can you guys be the same? Your fingerprints are not the same. So that means your process towards progress is not going to be the same either, and your challenges to a certain degree are not going to be the same, and your difficulties aren't going to be the same. So it's time for us to think outside the box of what the world wants us to think and start saying to ourselves, how does this work for me? How does this apply to me? How can I get through this with my strengths, with my talents, with my skills, and then customize it with the resources and the people that I need to help me get through this? It is all an individual journey and an individual quest to really know how to cope with these storms. It's time for us to learn how to do that in an efficient and effective way. Just like anybody who's recovering from something, a drug addiction or an alcoholic addiction or some kind of addiction, they can go through and sit in a room of people who are going through the same process, but everybody's at a different stage of change. And everybody has different resources in their stage of change to help them cope with it to actually recover. So if it's working from that lens, why can't we apply it to a bigger perspective, which is the worldview of how we deal with life? This is our time to really understand that. So I encourage everybody out there to realize that any situation or any storm you're going through, it is unique to you, even though people might have similar steps or similar experiences that you have. Realize that people don't get to the same outcome as you will get to, because we're all individuals. So take that to heart, understand how that applies to you, and everybody have yourselves a great start to your day or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world, and we'll be together again soon. Take care.